Hello guys. Today we'll discuss about AWS Elastic Beanstalk service. What are advantages of using the Beanstalk service? We'll see a demo of creating a Beanstalk environment. We'll check all the configuration, most of the configuration. And in the end of the video, we'll talk about an interesting fact about AWS service. So let's start. So if we talk about Elastic Beanstalk service, so it is meant to host your web application or your worker application. You can host your application in the Elastic Beanstalk service. The main advantage of Beanstalk service is that it creates all the required resources infrastructure-wise by its own. So with the help of your clicks, with the help of your settings, you can have your environment ready in a very less time. So if we talk about like EC2, which is like a bread and butter of AWS, so when we create an Elastic Beanstalk environment, it creates EC2, it creates underlining S3 resources, it creates IAM roles, and many other things automatically. So let's start. Let's see Elastic Beanstalk. So we are in North Virginia region. So let's create an environment. So once we like click on getting started, we can give an application name, which can be demo, similar. It's optional. You can give application tag or not. The main thing is that the platform it provides. So it provides a lot of platform which we can select. So .NET, Docker, Java, Node.js, PHP, Python, Ruby, Tomcat. So you all can, select whichever platform like you want for your application. So in this demo, we'll take Tomcat as our platform. So you can see it has selected Tomcat 8.5 with Pareto. It's an Amazon Linux on the Amazon Linux, and it is on the latest platform version supplied by AWS. Now, if you want your sample application code just to check your environment, you can go with this. Otherwise, you can upload your code directly either from S3 or from the local file. So in today's, we'll select sample application. Now, if you can see below, there is configure more options. So we'll see what all things are there. So once we click on more configuration option, we see that we have got options to select the availability, like high availability or a single instance. In high availability, it creates the load balancer and all automatically. It creates security groups and all automatic. So we can select from here. We'll go with single instance. You can mention your JDB connection string for your application over here. Otherwise, you have the option to go and edit all the configuration once the environment is created. If we talk about EC2 instance, it has got a lot of options to select. So EC2 security group. So by default, it will create one. If it is not mentioned, you can select your root volume, and you've got a lot of options to work. So we'll go with the default one. In the capacity one, so EC2 it has like all the instance type. Uh, Mind that instance type which are mentioned in EC2 is not uh, every type which we can select in Beanstalk, but it gives like a whole lot of options to us. So we can get go with micro, medium, or large, depending on your application requirement. For today's demo, we'll just go with this default one. You can configure availability zones, but since it's single tier, so it's not highlighted over here. Then you have got scaling trigger. If you have like high availability and load balancer configured, you've got all metrics options to scale. We'll see that in demo. Uh, If we select in load balance, you get an option to have like minimum and maximum instances. So if we go for max as 2, and then below you can see that this is now enabled. So we can select our like it will create or it will terminate or it will create an instance on requirement if on based on CPU utilization, network, or target response time of our application. So you can select many options from here based on your requirement. So if you go for target response time, it will check on average like 5 minutes, and it will scale up and down the instance based on your instance minimum and maximum configuration. So if you say this, now let's see what is more we have. So we have security. So at present we do not have any EC2 key pair that we can generate and select later on. It helps us to log in on the EC2 instance box. Otherwise, we can connect it to AWS console as well. So let's keep it as it is. Then you can manage your updates over there. You can enable or disable. You can specify the specific time, notification if you want for alerting, tags, etc. So these are the like majorly the options which you have. We'll check more configuration once the environment is created. So let's create an app. So now it gives you like a holistic view that what all resources it will create. So as you can see, it has created an ST storage with the name region, Elastic Beanstalk and region, where it keeps all manifest of Beanstalk. It creates this automatically. So if we go to S3, let me refresh this. Yeah, so you can see that has been created just now. If you go inside that, you will see Elastic Beanstalk configuration and its manifest. Yeah, so these are configurations are there which AWS is creating by its own and keeping it in S3. Let's see what else it is creating. So as you can see, it has created a security group. If we go here in EC2, let's see if it has started creating EC2 machine. Yeah, so you can see it is initializing our EC2 machine. So the main advantage is that it is, creating all your resources, required resources by its own, and you have still got all the configuration to edit in your hand. So it is not like Lambda, like where you do not have access to the underlying resources. You cannot do any sort of configuration in that. So here is the main advantage of Elastic Beanstalk. Meanwhile, let's create a key pair so that we can log in our box and see. So we'll go for with .ppk for putty. Yeah, we have got our ppk file. Let's go back to instance. It's still initializing. So it is creating an environment. It is saying as waiting for EC2 instance to launch. It has created auto scaling group. So at present we can see it has created just one EC2 machine, which is our minimum instance requirement as per load balancing setting. So it has created load balancer. It has added an instance to the load balancer. It has created few of the CloudWatch alarms and a deployment of sample code is also completed. Let's just refresh and see if the status is okay. It's still showing as pending. Yeah. So now, as you can see, status is okay. You can click on this URL of Beanstalk, and here you've got the sample application. Now let's check what all configuration we have in our hand. So these are the logs which we can see if we are doing any sort of deployment or any sort of changes. It will give all the logs over here. In recent activity, we can upload our artifacts from here and deploy it on the environment. Uh, let's see in configuration section what we have. So starting with software, if we edit and see, so you've got proxy server. So we have two options like Apache or Nginx to select the web server or as a proxy server. Then we have got heap settings for Tomcat. Then you've got S3 to rotate the logs and emulate. Then here you can mention all your environment properties related to Tomcat and related to your application. Let's go back. Below software, you have instance configuration. So you can select like root volume from here again. And you have the option of security group settings and load balancing settings. Uh, After that instance, you have capacity settings. You can edit from here. So as you can see, we have mentioned 1 and max 2 as load balance. We have instance type selected. We have EMA ID. We have scaling like a rule set up over here. And on ad hoc basis, we can just request, add a schedule, and we can request to scale up or scale down based on our requirement. Let's come back. And it's like deployment settings. So deployment policy, we can select a rolling or at once. And we have got certain timeouts. And in security settings, we can select our key pair, which we just created. Let's select this and apply it. So once this is applied, you can see it has started updating that configuration in the environment. So what it will do, if we go back to our EC2 instance, it will start terminating this instance. It will create a new one and a map that key pair with this instance. So this we can do it once we are creating the environment, or you can go do it afterward as well. Let's explore more options. So we have got in left menu logs. We can request a log like last 100 lines and full logs. In health, basically we get health at our EC2 instance. You can check your health from here. You can do monitoring, response time, CPU, network, healthy host, and then you have got alarms and tags. So these are the major settings which we have in Elastic Beanstalk, and that's the beauty that we have all the configuration in our hand. And you don't have to create your resources by your own still. So that's the beauty of Elastic Beanstalk. Let's see if it has started terminating the instance. Yeah. Okay, so it's creating one, it will initialize and it will terminate later on this one. Meanwhile, we can explore more options. Let's come back. So on the Beanstalk, like If you go in environment, you select a Beanstalk environment. You've got action options on this. Let's explore this. So on action, you've got lot of options. So you can just load your configuration again. You can save your configuration. The clone and swap environment URL are basically used in your blue-green deployment approach. You can clone your environment and you can swap URL in case of blue-green deployment if you want to configure that. Uh, you can restart your app servers. Like if you want to restart your Nginx and Tomcat, you can go ahead and restart app servers. You can rebuild this environment from scratch. Like it will pick all the configuration again and it will start rebuilding the environment. And you can delete your whole beanstalk. So by clicking on terminate environment, you can delete your whole beanstalk and it will also delete your underlying resources like about 1 hour. After 1 hour, once you request for termination. It will terminate at that moment only, but it will delete all the resources after 1 hour. So let's see if it has initialized EC2. Yeah, it is initializing. So if we check here, it should have a key pair associated. Yeah, so we can see key pair is associated. On before one, the key pair was not present. If you can see, apart from EC2 and S3, it has created the IAM roles as well. So if you go to roles, you will see that Elastic Beanstalk has created a default, some of the default roles, and it takes care like of creation part of these roles as well. This is the S3 which was created, I've already shown. Let's come back to EC2. It's still initializing. Uh, the application which I installed in Elastic Beanstalk, you can check it from here. As you can see, we have a sample application deployed at present. We can just click on here. We can download our sample application if you want. You can deploy your artifact later on if you want. It keeps all the version here. You can upload your application. You have different action. You have the option to deploy it as well. If you go here in application, you will get a list of all the applications installed in all the Beanstalk environment. You can check it from here. Else you can go to an environment and select the Beanstalk. So it's give you the holistic view of application version as well. These options we have already explored. Let's come back. Yeah, so now you can see it is terminating the instance. Okay, let's try it with putty. Let's select our public IP, public key, PPK. Okay, here we have our key, and EC2 user is the default one for EC2. So here we have, let's go back to root, and if we check our process, you see Tomcat is running, and if you see Nginx is a web server configured in Beanstalk. So you can see the process are running in your instance. The app location in Beanstalk is where app current, where all your code resides once you do the deployment. So here you can see the sample application code and logs. You can see it in the log. So you've got Tomcat, and you can see the Catalina access logs on here. Let's go back. So it has terminated the instance. Now, if suppose we terminate our instance, or it is right required to terminate the instance. It takes care of, the Beanstalk load balancing and the configuration takes care of that thing, and it automatically creates a new instance with the application version you have installed. So if we click on terminate, it will start shutting down this machine, and once it is terminated, you will see that it has started initializing a new machine. So if you have got in your prod environment like more than one machines, and if you want to terminate like one or two machines, it will keep that scaling settings and it will keep that minimum level of instances. Yeah, you can see that it has started creating this instance. Yeah, so it is initializing this instance now. So this is like the basic AWS Beanstalk walkthrough. I hope you all liked it. Once it has created this EC2 instance, we'll try to terminate and see what it does. So let's talk about an interesting fact about AWS. So the interesting fact is if we click on role, any of the role in AWS, and we see like the policies. So AWS has got a limit of adding like 10 policies by default in any of the roles. So we cannot attach more policies than that. But we can go to AWS and request for 10 more policies. So the maximum limit which AWS provide us is the 20 policies in any of the role. But it doesn't mean that if it is required that we want to add more that then we cannot. So we can custom our policies. We can add like more rules in that, and we can create a group and we can add like more policies by default in that if it is required. So if you can see here, this is the AWS documentation. So the maximum limit of attaching policy is 20. So by default, the limit is 10 and it goes up to 20. But you have to submit request for that. Like if you want to add more, then you can have like 300 IAM groups per account. You can attach your user in multiple groups and you can have like more policies on that user. This is how you can overcome the 20 manage policy limit, or else you can combine the policies and you can have you can use wildcards like this. If you like you have like parameter stores, so you can use wildcard in your policies, and that can reduce the number of character because the managed policy also have like this character limit of 6144. We cannot go beyond that for any single policy. So this was the interesting fact about AWS. Let us know how do you, did you like it or not? Share us, comment us more on this, and also do share more advantage or disadvantage if you have got for Elastic Beanstalk. And if you have got any issue, do comment below. We'll try to resolve that. Let's see if it has created an instance and initialized. So yeah, it has initialized. Now we'll just go and try to terminate this one. So yeah, you can see that this will be released and the additional resources will also be terminated. So let's click on terminate. Let's give the environment name. Once you click on terminate, it will start deleting your environment and it will delete your underlying resources within 1 hour or so. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.